Hi, welcome to my channel. I'm Thomasin PA2066. Today is 12th of August 2022. I would like to do a topic on candidates sitting for 2022 Diploma in Estate Agency Examination. Let me begin. Thomasin PA2066. Today is 12th of August 2022. These slides were done yesterday. So exam candidate 2022, analysis of 2022 versus 2020. Let me give you some background on this. We actually had COVID for 2020 and 2021. So therefore, the year exam for 2020 and 21 was delayed. So these two examinations were delayed until 2022. So the board examination, Diploma in Estate Agency Examination, was never held in year 20 and also 21. So now the year 2022, they had to do 3 exams. So in a way, the exam for 2020 as well as 2021 was all held in the year 2022. So the year 2022 rightful exam is actually fixed on the 27 to 29 of September 2022. So this is objective of my presentation. We actually received some information on the candidates for the year 2020 examination. The list was issued by board. So the board in a way gave a notification with the numbers of candidates sitting for the 2020 examination. So I have also make an analysis of that list. Similarly, today I am doing analysis for the candidates sitting for the 2022 exam, so the numbers. So the objective of doing this exam analysis of candidates is in fact to understand candidate distribution, how candidates are distributed in the whole region, whole Malaysia. And here, whole Malaysia, they have 5 major center of examination. So from the northern side, which is Penang, then the Klang Valley, which is Selangor, Wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur, and south region, which is Johor Bahru, and East Malaysia, Kuching, as well as Kota Kinabalu. So there are 5 centers of examination. So I want to understand the candidate distribution among these centers. Also to understand the distribution of candidates for Part 1 and Part 2 examination. So how many are taking Part 1, how many are taking Part 2? With the information available in the list, so try to deduce or derive what are the difficult subjects in the number of candidates sitting for the subjects. So the basis of this understanding is that the difficult subject usually have to sit for the retaking or resit the difficult subject because having failed the difficult subject earlier on. So the one that has got more students sitting for it probably will indicate that it is a repeat attempt. So therefore it's a difficult subject. So we also see that most will want to take the examination in one single sitting. So if they are all taking 6 subjects, that means this candidate very likely is a new first-time candidate. So I want to understand how many new candidates versus the repeat candidates. And we also have some figures of the firm's distribution in Malaysia. So this analysis also try to understand the numbers of candidates distribution compared to the firm practice distribution in Malaysia by region or by population. So because we have earlier on some comparison of the population per state and the firms who are setting up in these regions, various distribution of density of population. So this is the one that is 2020 So for application 2020 who are sitting for the exam actually in 2022 January because the time was no COVID already, and they were starting to offer the examination in early part of 2022. So this one is the analysis. You can go to the website. I can click here and go to the website. So this website I have included a write-up on the analysis of 2020 candidates. So you can come to this website, My Real Property online, and you can see this particular posting, which is Analysis 2020 Examination Candidate Analysis, and the board having issued a circular, a notification, and also a simple table or Excel calculation of the candidate distribution. So I built on the same concept in this particular posting for the current video presentation. Let us go back. So this is the 2020 examination candidate distribution. We actually can see some summary here, about 1 in 3, 1 in 2.6% progress to part 2. Also, Kuching has the lowest number of candidates. So here, JB Southern Region, KL and Klang Valley, Selangor area is the center of West Malaysia, and Penang, the northern region, then Kota Kinabalu and Kuching. So you can see Kuching, the candidate number very small. Penang, bigger a bit. The huge number of candidates is at Johor Bahru and KL, Klang Valley. So part 1 percentage is 72%, part 2 is 28%. So let us look at the 2022 examination candidate distribution pattern. So this is the extract from the LPPEH Estate Agent Examination Summary 2020. Application is 2021. Here, application means that the students who apply to sit for the exam. So yeah, this is the latest. That means the one that is sitting this coming September. And the total distribution of candidates, you can see Johor Bahru is 160, Kuala Lumpur 344, Pulau Pinang is 50, Sabah 20, and Sarawak 19. So newly registered and added actually in this group of students are those who actually did not sit for the 2020 exam, because at that time they got COVID. A lot of the students were not prepared because they were not told to get ready in such a short time manner. So some of them had COVID also, so they were not able to attend the 2020 examination. So this particular group of candidates are allowed to redo or take the exam in 2022 without being penalized. And this was in fact explained in the earlier notification, notification on estate agent examination special instruction for exam candidate for the year 2020. So here it says that who had attended but then failed, or they had issue earlier on, failed to attend because of other reasons. So there were reasons like they were not able to attend because of COVID, because of all the issues of preparation and such a short notice. So they are allowed to retake the same exam in the 2022. So this is a reminder where candidates were given the reminder to be able to sit for the exam in 27 until 29 of September. So these are the all repeat taking students who are added to the new fresh students from the previous 2021 new registration. So some of the new registration added with these 2020 students are able to take up this total number today. And here on the 5th of August, it was given an examination notification saying that still you need to do a COVID-19 self-test to be allowed to do the exam on the 27 to 29 of September. So this is the 2022 exam candidate distribution in the same pattern that I have organized it. Johor Bahru, JB, KL, Penang, KK, Kuching. So the number is now 80%, 20%. So you can see that 80% are taking part 1 and 20% of the candidates are taking part 2. So the distribution seems to be the same. Part 1 is always more student, part 2 much less student. Johor is second after KL and Klang Valley. After that is Penang, and Sabah and Sarawak are small numbers. So only 25% of the Part 1 students seems to go to Part 2. So 25%, 1 in 4. Earlier on it was 1 in 3 lah. This can be due to the number of sitting for Part 1. A lot of new students sitting for Part 1 for this exam. Therefore, it builds up this Part 1 number lah. So therefore, the Part 2 number seems to be less. But traditionally, it is also the fact that many drop out from the Part 1 and are unable to pass, or whatever reason they quit the exam. So less end up in Part 2. So this is the combination or combine of 2022 versus 2020. As you can see, I put them side by side lah. So 2022 is 1 in 4. 2020 is 2.6 versus 1. So 1 to about 2.6. The other one is 1 to about 4. So this I mentioned just now could be due to more taking Part 1 as in new student. That means colleges and those registered for the exam, they actually come to Part 1 for the first time. So let us go into more detail to analyze this 2 years pattern. Now, before we do that, I would like to bring to your attention distribution of firms in the country, from Selangor, Sabah, Johor, Sarawak, until even small place like Labuan. So the total number of firms as in 2019. So this survey was done around 2019 end, and the total population of Malaysia was also taken around 2018-2019. So we are looking at 1,366 firms. So population per firms is about 24,000. The total Malaysian population at that time was 32.6 million. So the number of areas which I have highlighted red are actually those who has got more than 2 million population but very few firms. So the firm to population ratio is very high, 68,000 people per firm. Whereas you compare some places, the Wilayah Persekutuan Kuala Lumpur, the number of population per firm is only 4,000 plus, and Selangor is 15,000, Johor is 27,000. So areas like Sabah, Sarawak, Perak and Kedah, the number of firms ratio to population is huge. It's almost 2 to 3 times of the KL or Klang Valley area. So here the slide shows the 3 Excel combination, Excel sheet, which is one is 2022 candidate, one for 2020 candidate distribution, and the third one is the population and firm distribution. So I am grouping the Klang Valley as in KL here, Klang Valley include Selangor, Kuala Lumpur, Negeri Sembilan and Perak. So here Perak is Ipoh, this is Seremban. Maybe some who are from Kuantan, Kuala Terengganu and Kota Baru also comes here, but they are smaller in number. So I just put these 4. For the Penang side, the northern side, I would include Penang Island, Penang mainland, Kedah and Perlis. Also, this is one region. Then Sarawak is Sabah and Sarawak, Kuching and KK is quite straightforward. So those who are from outskirts like Sandakan, Tawau will fly to KK. Those in Sibu, Miri, Bintulu area will fly to Kuching. So the population also will be included like that. So you can see for southern side, total population is 4.7 million. Klang Valley about 12 million. Northern about 4 million. Sabah is about 4 million. Sarawak is about 2.9, 2.8 million. And the number of firms, I have also add them together. So you can see that total number of firms in KL, in Klang Valley is 894. About 65% of the total number in whole Malaysia actually situated in KL side, in Selangor. And the second more is actually southern, 12%, equivalent of northern, which is 12%. Sabah is only 4%, Sarawak is the least, 3%. So now we have a pattern of firm distribution. We have also the pattern of the candidate distribution in the different region, and also the Part 1 and the Part 2. So we try to analyze it in a so-called collective manner. So this is the summary. total number of firms, numbers of students, also percentage. So you can see that southern region, which Johor, Malacca, the total percentage is 12% of the national firm located in southern region. You have, in fact, 2020, 32% of the candidates sitting for exam in Johor. And 2022, which reflects a more balanced pattern, it seems to show is still high. 12% of firms in Johor, but then 27% of the candidates are sitting the exam in Johor. For Klang Valley, you have about 12 million of population. Of course, very much headquarters are all situated in Selangor, Klang Valley. 65% of the firms are located in Central, but you also have a high number of students, which is naturally the case so 57 to 58%. So this one correlates to actually the amount of firms, probably the employment opportunity are there. For northern states in Penang, is actually also 12% of number of firms. However, the total candidate percentage is only 6 and 8%. So this 6 and 8% is way below the 12% of number of firms. So the employment opportunity probably for northern side is even better than southern side or the KL side. And Sabah is 4% of total number of firms. The number of candidates 3%. Sarawak also 3% of total number of firms in whole Malaysia, and the 3% of candidates sitting for the exam. Now, it may be unfair to compare like this because number of firms are actually limited by the number of pass out or numbers of registered estate agents. So there are a few agents only. Definitely they cannot operate more firms number because these numbers of small candidate passing out may later on inhibit the establishment of new firms because new firms require new license. So for the KL side, because there is a lot of firms already, so the new candidates coming out to take the job may not have the opportunity because these numbers of firms already have their principals, have their registered estate agent. And in the case of Johor, with the numbers of a lot of candidates coming out, then the future number or percentage of firms may be even more. Instead of 12%, because of the new coming up estate agents qualifying, there will be even more firms. So the number of firms may see increase in the southern side, not able to increase in the East Malaysia side because the numbers are sitting for the exam very small. So the numbers of license holders in the future will be small. And for the Penang side, of course, the number of firms is high. The number of candidates sitting is actually reducing, and therefore Penang side may have a higher potential for an increasing number of new firms, and also likely sought after candidates who pass out to be a registered agent to gain placement and employment in their respective agencies. So that's why I just conclude Selangor is the biggest, and Johor is having the higher percentage of candidates sitting for exam, although the number of firm number is as high as just Penang. Penang, although the numbers is similar to South, so Johor side, the candidates sitting for it is much less. East Malaysia, the number of firms and the candidate numbers are quite balanced. And this situation means that it would be on a plateau. That means the number of so-called candidate passing out, taking over the firm number would be probably no change. Penang, there will be less and lesser firms. Johor will be more and more firms. This is the part that I feel maybe interpreted this way. And KL, of course, is the major area where you have huge number of firms and huge number of candidates coming out. So there is a high competition in Klang Valley, probably lesser competition in northern Penang area and East Malaysia, whereby the southern region would have gradual increase in competition because more candidates passing out, firm number may not grow as much. So this is next slide showing about the difficulty of the part 1 and the part 2 as well as the subject paper lah. So here I can show you there are 3 shaded area lah. So let us choose this left side first. The left side here actually talk about new 6 subject taking it or retaking part subjects. Loose means retaking part subjects. So 31% of the candidates in part 1 are the retaking subject. So this retaking or loose subject, actually there are 2 groups of people. First is the one that may have repeat or retaking the subject because they have failed. They have failed the previous exam, and therefore now they are retaking the subject. Some may be small number who are part-timer who want to split out. That means they do not take the total 6 subjects in the first attempt. So the first attempt they could have taken only 3 subjects, and now they are taking the remaining 3. So these are the type of candidate who are taking loose subject. But the general interpretation is new student, there are a lot more, 70% who are taking all 6 subjects at first time, and there are some who are repeat of the previous new student. So these are probably not new student. The one that has taken some subject early on, or the one that is part taking, trying to take 3 subject or 4 subject instead of taking the 6 subject because of commitment in work or family life. Whereas in part 2, part 2 come from part 1. So those who actually pass all the part 1 subjects and move to part 2, so usually they would take the full 6 subject in part 2 for the first attempt. So you can see the percentage is about 50-50 So half of them are first time taking the whole part 2, and another half is the one that probably attempting second time. Attempting second time for the reason that they could have failed 1 or 2 subjects in the first attempt. So the balance is much balanced. So half of them are actually new and half are actually retaking. So you can explain this in the sense that, well, in part 2, the passing mark may be 50%. 50% of the candidate, we are seeing them passing the part 2, and half of them actually fail some subject and therefore need to retake the subject. So this is likely the case. The number are more balanced. Whereas for part 1, because there are a lot of new students coming in, so the new student who has taken 6 full subjects would inflate this figure. So the proportion of those retaking it could be shown smaller here. Then the analysis of the different papers for the part 1, you can see that percentage divided out mostly about 15-16%. But for these 2 colored shaded papers, one is taxation and the other one is marketing. They are having higher percentage, meaning to say these are 2 subjects repeat taking by candidates, candidate who has failed and required to resit. Therefore, the increased number of candidate taking this subject. So from average of about 15-16 to as high as 20 or 19-20. So the easiest to pass seems to be economics. So most people do not take economics, the easiest to pass. The remaining accounting, law, and building technology seems to show 16%. Now, this could be also due to a lot of new student taking the subject. Therefore, the balancing up of the subjects that are taking for the first time. But then clearly shown for property taxation D04 and principle and practice of marketing D05, higher numbers of candidates are taking this paper. So be careful on these 2 papers. You probably also face the same scenario. Not as easy pass as the other papers. Whereas in the second part 2, you can see that most of the subjects are about 16-17%. So maybe you can say 16% is on the lower side. There's less repeat, but then 17% is the one that has higher repeat. So 17% repeat for EAL, LRP, and EAP. Some people have problem with valuation, so I expected to see higher for valuation, but it is not the case. So it's not the case. So likely law-related paper, EAL, LRP, and EAP, these are the 3 difficult to pass paper. I'm quite surprised with building tech, because building tech should be very small, for the fact that I find building tech easy to pass. Land economics also not the difficult subject lah. So this two should be showing lower. The remaining part may be higher lah, because they are the core subject or core discipline of practicing estate agent. So I hope that this slide can give some picture on how you should strategize your attempt in the examination, especially preparing for the hard to pass subject. So I give a summary for the fact that we are looking at this from the aspect of how many new candidates taking the exam. It could be due to college recruitment. So if you have a lot of college recruiting new student, then of course the part 1 full 6 subject numbers would be very high, and the part 1 repeat would be much lower compared to the total number who are sitting for the exam. In the good days, you have part 1, in fact, in 1,000 people who are taking this part 1 paper, in the numbers like in 1,000 for the whole Malaysia. Now it is much less, almost a few hundred only. And the part is also due to the college and the supports that the college give. So if the college is strong in recruiting the new student, then you would definitely see a lot of part 1 first attempt candidates. So that would reflect in the proportion of the total candidate as well as the repeat students, repeat candidates. So the retacking or the loose candidates are the smaller number, definitely. And also I have shown you the difficult subjects and those who are part-time doing the split strategy. Some are quitting in halfway, therefore the part 2, some would actually give up. So the numbers in part 2 compared to part 1, the part 2 is only 1 quarter or less than 1 quarter of the part 1. Let me conclude the presentation. About 25% or sometimes probably 30% of the part 1 students are able to move to part 2. So this is from the 2-year analysis. One year is 2020 and another one is 2022. So the 2-year distribution of candidates showed us that the number of part 1 students moving to part 2 proportionately is about 1/3 to 1/4. This is disproportionate in the sense that seems that a lot of people drop out. And of course this also could be other reason due to college recruitment and the other thing which I have explained earlier. We also analyze on the number of firms in Klang Valley and the number of candidates. So I would say that heavy for Klang Valley, number of candidates also a lot, high competition area. In the southern region, I consider it as an overload. So number of firms also 12% equivalent of Penang or northern side, but then the number of candidates coming into the examination is 20%. So that means there are a lot of potential new graduates and a new coming up agency which is competing for the area. So going into northern area and East Malaysia, which are medium and the light, it seems to say if you are studying for this exam, passing out in these 2 regions, your competition is much less because the number of firms are smaller and likely it is a chicken and egg. You have less coming out, then you have less firm being set up, then you probably also have lesser business competition. But then the other angle of looking at it is because of the business scenario, that means you don't have a big economic cake to divide out. So therefore your potential in these areas are not as high as in Klang Valley or Johor. So Klang Valley and Johor are the 2 bigger property markets where you have high hangover and high activity of transaction. And the last thing that we have gone through is the study on the difficulties of some subjects. So apparently for part 1 it is D04 property taxation and principle and practice of marketing D05, which sees a lot more candidates taking the paper. So that indicates repeat takers as well as difficult to pass subject lah. Thank you very much. I am Thomas CPA 2066. You can see my mobile number on display. I have a few websites. Fireaway.info is a geo-linking advertising website. Contract2you.com is ranking of property by comparative index. My Real Property Online is my collection of videos and write-ups with my listings. abacusrealestate.fund is a directory plug-in type of website. estateagentexam.com is an online self-study platform for the diploma in estate agency examination. Thank you very much.